Hey guys, welcome to today's episode, and we have Dr. Jack Wolfson, one of my favorite people. We are completely aligned. I love having guests on the show where I'm like, everything they say, we are in complete alignment. And he is America's #1 natural health doctor. He actually is a cardiologist, so he's board certified as a cardiologist, but he uses all natural methods to prevent, treat, and reverse heart disease and all things that are related to heart and just health in general. So he doesn't want you to depend on big pharma or meds or surgeries to treat heart disease. So I'm so excited to have you. Welcome, Dr. Jack Wolfson.
Thank you so much, Chantel. Pleasure to talk to you again. And I agree. It is wonderful to speak with people who know what's going on and are just so on board with the similar, concepts. It's really refreshing, and I'm excited to convince more people to follow our lead.
Well, I know that you have a book called The Paleo Cardiologist, and I want you to talk about what your opinion is on the paleo diet and how important that is for heart health. But I also want you to really talk about one of the things that people say all the time, because I'm a huge fan of the paleo diet as well. But I hear them say things like, I love the paleo diet, but I just every once in a while, I just have to have a piece of bread, or I just can't get, sometimes I just have to have some gluten-free oats or something like that. I can't live my whole life living 100% paleo. So talk about that for just a second.
Yeah, I don't think people have to be that ideologic about it. There is room to break from what are conventional paleo foods. For example, dairy. Dairy is not paleo. But if you say, well, can I drink raw dairy? First of all, you can do whatever you want. I believe in total freedom, and you can, again, right? You can do whatever you want. My professional opinion would be, yes, you can have raw dairy. When it comes to paleo diet, it's just the ancestral diet. It's our ancestors ate this way since the dawn of human existence. So we ate plenty of free-range grass-fed meats, wild seafood, eggs, avocados, coconuts, nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables, raw honey. That's what we ate. No matter what diet you follow, make it all organic. So Chantel, you're right. It's like if someone's like, oh, well, can I have ice cream? Yeah, you can have ice cream. Just make sure it's organic. Ice cream, preferably, homemade from raw cow's milk and raw cream. But everybody let's first agree on the whole organic thing. Let's all go organic, get the chemicals out of our food. Whether you're vegan, vegetarian, paleo, keto, carnivore, get the chemicals out of our food. That should be kind of #1 priority. So if you're like, okay, well, I'm eating mostly paleo, so can I have gluten-free oats that are organic? Again, I think that's okay for the majority of people. And again, back to the raw dairy. Me personally, Dr. Jack Wolfson, I focus more on what to eat, and that is eating plenty of wild seafood, eating nose to tail, preferably bison, land animals. So, bison over cattle, lamb, chicken, and really, again, in that order. But don't forget about the organs, eating those. I'm always gluten-free. I don't see any need to eat gluten. I don't cheat. I don't do any kind of gluten. I just don't feel that it's necessary. Some people can tolerate little bits of it, but it's really not necessary. And so, to your point, if someone wants to eat bread, can they eat? Are there quality gluten-free breads? There's some really good alternatives and gluten-free pastas and stuff like that. So, always organic, seafood, ethically raised, regenerative animals. And gluten-free, that's where I would go with that. And then I love, of course, the intermittent fasting, as you and I have talked about in the past.
I don't know about you guys, but I am stressed. And if you're feeling overwhelmed this holiday season, then I get it. With all the family get-togethers, it is just a relentless source of stress. But anyway, there is something that I've got called Stress Guardian, and it's actually made by Bioptimizers, the people who make the magnesium breakthrough, which I love, love, love. But anyway, they are literally made this new product. It has 14 adaptogenic herbs, and it just regulates your stress. I just actually took some right this second, and it's awesome. If you go to stressguardian.com/wasteaway, and put in Waste Away for 10% off your first order. It's stressguardian.com/wasteaway. Go there now.
One of the things that I saw that you're doing right now is you created something called Cardiology Coffee that is organic, mold-free, and it looks like it's from Honduras, which I was like, wait a minute, why is it not from Costa Rica? Because I know you're such a big fan of Costa Rica. So talk to me about this new coffee that you're into.
Yeah, so I grew up as a coffee drinker. My father was a coffee drinker, and then I would, go through all my medical training, and you'd run into the nurse's station and grab a cup of coffee in a styrofoam cup, and of course, the nurses, unfortunately for them, were drinking the most inferior coffee. And then I would, meet my wife, and she's like, coffee is just not good for your gut. It's not good for your adrenals, and I would quit for a while and I would miss it. And then I just started really looking into the medical literature, which really supports coffee is heart healthy. I mean, the vast majority of studies where they look at the parameters of coffee, and that's on regular, Dunkin' Donuts type stuff, that there were cardiovascular benefits. So what would happen if people drank the good stuff? So I decided after being a medical expert for a coffee company that I would start my own company. And that's how Cardiology Coffee was born. Really to let people know, hey, coffee is heart healthy. And if you enjoy it, you should continue to drink it. Now, if you don't like the way you feel on caffeine or coffee, then of course, don't drink it. But if you drink coffee that is tested for glyphosate and it's negative, that's tested for mold and it's negative, two big offenders, of course, in the coffee industry, then that's what you want. And that's what Cardiology Coffee is. The beans come from Honduras. It's from a women's co-op that was started in 1993. They started with a little 2-acre farm that is now multiplied in size by like 40 times. Now they're like up at 80 acres of what these women started down there in the early 90s. And then we donate 5% of all sales. All money that comes in goes to Friends of Honduran Children, which I contacted that organization to make sure that they're doing well by the children. And Chantel, you would be happy with the vetting process of what I did with them and what I found out. So I'm more than happy to donate our money to that group. And the product is now on Amazon. People could buy it at cardiologycoffee.com. It's certainly going to be more expensive than Starbucks, but it's definitely worth it, and it goes towards a good cause, and it really geared towards heart health in mind.
Awesome. Well, heart disease, like as you always say, is the number one killer still, and millions of people have abnormal cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes. And I will say now I have a few friends that their blood pressure is really, really high. And so I want you to talk about cholesterol for just a second. And I want you to talk about high blood pressure, because those two things I feel like is happening more and more. We're seeing all these people with high blood pressure and abnormal cholesterol of what their doctor is saying is abnormal. So I want you to talk about what they need to do so that they don't have to get on, blood pressure meds or medicine for cholesterol.
Yeah, most certainly. There's 100 million Americans that are labeled with hypertension. Millions and millions and millions are on pharmaceuticals, for that. Millions and millions of people, of course, take pharmaceuticals for their cholesterol. I'm going to make a statement right now that I hope everybody gets. If you are on those pharmaceuticals, you need to come up with a plan to get off of them ASAP. You do not want to be on those pharmaceuticals at all, and certainly not for the long term. People who take those drugs, they live until their early 70s on average. You got to come up with a better plan. The pharmaceuticals are not the answer. They are a Band-Aid attempt, and it's all driven by pharmaceutical company revenue and profits. You got to come up with a different strategy. I know I spent 16 years in the industry in the biggest group in the state of Arizona for 10 of those years. You got to move on from that. It's not the answer. High blood pressure, when you have it, it tells you that there's a problem. The problem is not a lack of pharmaceuticals or a pharmaceutical drug deficiency. You got to figure out why you have high blood pressure. If your cholesterol levels are abnormal, you need to figure out why. And by the way, it's not your genetics. Your genetics and your DNA are perfect, right, Chantel? You and I can run and jump and see and feel, and we can make babies. Like, our genetics are perfect. Why would we be genetically programmed to have heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, or anything else? We're not. Our genetics are perfect until man-made unhealthy lifestyle, toxic food, and a toxic lifestyle in a toxic environment. That's what leads to disease. And when we clean those things up, that's how we heal. That's the 100-year heart. That's the only strategy that's available.
So let's talk about some of the top reasons of high blood pressure that you're seeing. And let's say somebody is not overweight. They're exercising pretty regularly, like maybe walking like 5 days a week. What would be some of the biggest things that you're seeing of why someone still would be having high blood pressure?
Well, I view everything through the 100-year heart method. So no matter what their complaint is or their issue is, I'll look at it through the 100-year heart method. And we look at that, and that's to eat well, live well, and think well. And then we do test, don't guess, evidence-based supplements, biohacking strategies, like sauna and red light and IV and ozone and all these other things. But if I look at someone and we talk about, okay, let's talk about the food story. Are they eating enough seafood? Are they eating enough free-range grass-fed meats, including the organs? Are they eating eggs and avocados and coconuts and olives and fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds? Are they eating those foods? Are they practicing intermittent fasting? That would be helpful in that arena as well. Are they drinking healthy beverages? Are they having a lot of alcohol, which is clearly, problematic? Are they drinking enough, quality water, filtered water? But that's the food story. But what about the live well part? What about the quality of sleep? Are they getting enough quality sleep? Are they sleeping on time? Recent study came out that showed that people who describe themselves as night owls have double the risk of coronary artery calcification. We're not night owls. We're not owls. We're humans, and we go to sleep when the sun goes down. Like, that's when we go to sleep. So looking at, again, how people sleep, the sunshine, the more sunshine we get, the higher the levels of vitamin D, the more nitric oxide, the better our blood pressure, the better everything is. It's just ancestral. It's how we lived. Physical activity, of course, is very important. People are more sedentary than ever these days. Coming out of COVID, where everybody was told to stay at home, stay in place, shelter in place, and lack of physical activity, very destructive. And then we get into the toxin, area. What are people's levels of plastics and phthalates and parabens and PVCs? That's just the P category, So there's a massive toxin burden. One of the actions of the body is, just dysfunction and therefore high blood pressure. And then you and I have touched on this, previously, this whole concept of water damage in a home, from a leaky shower, a leaky faucet, a leaky sink, a leaky toilet, a leaky laundry machine, dishwashing machine, roof leak, basement leak, flood, high humidity, the discrepancy between air conditioning and outdoor, indoor and outdoor air. This all leads to water damage and therefore mold and bacteria growth. And I think it's a 21st century crisis that happened to be mentioned by Moses in the book of Leviticus in the Old Testament 3,500 years ago. 3,500 years ago, they knew that mold in a home was very disruptive and very dangerous to the health of the person living there, and they came up with a whole plan to deal with it. Now, I believe 95% plus of homes are water damaged, leading to mold toxicity in the individuals and pets living in that home.
Guys, I just want to interrupt for just a second, and I want you to hear Paul Saladino talk about why liver is so important. And if you don't like liver, we have another option for you.
Your ancestors were eating liver. And the reason that this sort of wisdom has been passed down is because liver is very nutritious. It's basically nature's multivitamin. If you look at the nutrients in meat, they're great. You've got zinc, you got B6, you got B12, you got some K2. But if you look at liver, it really complements what's in muscle meat. And there are many unique nutrients found in organs, specifically liver as a powerhouse of these, that are difficult to obtain outside of liver. Like meat and organs are like peanut butter and jelly. They just go together. They're supposed to be eaten together. The easiest way to eat liver is just to do it raw. If you don't want to eat liver raw, you can cook it. But the reason that I like to do it raw is because there are unique nutrients in liver that are probably somewhat degraded when you cook the liver.
This really is like the most nutrient-rich supplements that you can find, and they are amazing. I have tried them. I absolutely love them. So just go to heartandsoil.co, use the coupon code Chantel Ray, and save some money there.
So one of the things I want you to talk about is this test that you guys are kind of have that can check, because I know that different people get these mold tests. They're feeling terrible. They kind of have all the signs of mold. They get somebody out, maybe a mold remediation, these different companies that say, okay, we're going to test for mold. And they come in, they say, no, there's no mold in the house, but they still have all the symptoms.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go deeper than that. A lot of times the mold testing is done with, they'll put out plates, like mold collection plates. So if there's mold spores circulating around in the air, then they will collect on the plate and they will grow, and therefore they will see that there's evidence of mold there. But what if the mold is not getting to that one particular area? What if there's not active spore release at that moment? What if there is, other factors, at play that, again, lead to sporadic, release of mold spores in the air in that one particular place. So we prefer what's called the Swiffer test, where you actually do the sample yourself. You don't have to hire anybody. You get the Swiffer test. We sell that on our website. You collect dust samples from around the house. It goes to the company, and then we get the report, and then you get to review the report with us. And we've been through thousands of these reports. But so many people, again, they come up with false numbers based on some of the testing that's done. Sometimes they don't even test for the mold itself. They're just looking for moisture, moisture in the walls or exposure there. But what if the moisture is not there at the moment? But what if it's there tomorrow? What if it rains tomorrow or changes happen tomorrow? And we think that the Swiffer test is just that much more sensitive. The other thing we recommend is to test your own urine. So we do sell a test. It's called urine mycotoxin test. And we see the toxins that are coming out into your urine. And if they're coming out of your urine, it means they're coming in your body, and you got to find it. And sometimes also it could be a car, it could be a workplace, it could be one particular room in the house, versus another. Again, it can be transient, but the health ramifications are so deadly. I've got blog posts on this. I speak, all around on this. I've got an infographic that's 14 different mechanisms or ways mold leads to cardiovascular disease just by itself. And this is all in the medical literature. I mean, that's where I source it all from. It's right there. Mold destroys the gut microbiome, leads to leaky gut, inflammation, oxidative stress, leads to autonomic dysfunction, endothelial dysfunction, and therefore high blood pressure, coronary disease, blood clotting, you name it. So it's definitely a pretty scary situation. And then again, like dealing with the mold, once you discover it, that's a whole different thing too.
Mm. So let's talk a little bit more about cholesterol. My aunt last Friday had high blood pressure and high cholesterol. She went into a heart surgery. I'm going to try to say this without crying because she was like a mother to me, but she was on pharmaceutical meds. She went into surgery. She ended up last Friday. She went into surgery. We thought it was just kind of a regular surgery. She'd already had several heart surgeries before, so this was just another one that she was having. And she went in last Friday, and she has not woken up yet. The doctor says that she had blood clots, that she's not going to recover. She hasn't woken up, that she's continually having strokes. She had, blocked blood flow to her legs and her arms, and that she's not going to make it. And so, the work that you're doing is just so important, because I've now lost my aunt, and we had no idea that going into this, that she was going to not be able to recover from it. So I want you to talk about why cholesterol numbers are so important, but I want you to say, okay, what are the doctors suggesting? And then you talk about, some of the different types of cholesterol and why a doctor might say this is too high, but you don't want to get onto prescription drug medicines.
Yeah, first off, let me say I'm sorry to hear that about your aunt. Again, there's a time and a place for modern medicine and surgeries and things like that. But if we can kick that can down the road as much as possible, avoid it, and that's all through preventive strategies. It's not going to be done through Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor, statin drugs. It's not going to be with blood pressure drugs. We got to just avoid getting into those situations. And we do that by eating well, living well, thinking well. As it pertains to cholesterol and the pharmaceuticals, they lower the numbers down, no doubt, but they have very little impact on heart attack, stroke, and dying, the things that really matter. And of course, they have tremendous side effects as well. Cholesterol has been a vilified molecule, obviously, for many years. But if it's such a bad thing, why do all animals have cholesterol? Why do all animals have LDLs, which is often called the bad cholesterol? The reality is cholesterol is good. We need cholesterol. We cannot live without it. It makes our vitamin D, makes all of our hormones. It's for our digestion through the liver and the gallbladder onto our food. Every cell, it has a fence called the cell membrane, and that membrane is loaded with cholesterol. So it's a wonderful molecule. That's why mother's milk has it, animal milk has it, eggs have it. That's because that's how the young, come to life, and you can't come to life on oatmeal. So, we definitely want to make sure we embrace cholesterol from healthy sources, of course, and it's really just a molecule that should be celebrated.
So when someone's looking at it and they see, the LDL or the different types of cholesterol, what's a number that you would say a regular doctor might say, the good cholesterol that we talk about, where they would say, this is high, we've got to get you on cholesterol medicine, or you would say, this is not a big deal at all. Can you go over that?
Yeah, well, there's no scenario that I put people on cholesterol medication. So there's some natural supplements that we can use, but it's always a matter of cause. Why is the cholesterol abnormal? And it's very rarely familial. It's very rarely familial, so I don't want to blame it on that. It's really a matter of what is the damaged cholesterol particles. So we can check that. It's called oxidized LDL. We also offer a urine test that can be done at home without a doctor's order and no blood. It's a urine test called lipid peroxides. That tests for damaged fatty particles. And based on that, you have what's called oxidative stress. And if you have oxidative stress or inflammation, that is a sign that you better figure out what's going on. Honestly, Chantel, at this time, I could care less what somebody's total cholesterol is. I could care less. I'm not interested. It's in the reports that we do because it's built into that, and people like to know that information. The only lipid part, thing that I would potentially look at is what's called the ApoB-A ratio, apolipoprotein B to A. We can look at that. We should look at another genetic marker called Lp(a), see if somebody has that, and therefore, would have elevated risk in a modern world. But again, I'm interested in markers like inflammation, oxidative stress, homocysteine, intracellular vitamins and minerals, omega-3 status, and I want to know your toxin burden. I want to know if you're loaded with metals, mold mycotoxins, plastics, phthalates, parabens. I want all that information. There was a recent study that came out that looked at carotid artery plaque. So the plaque or the gunk in the artery of that leads to the brain, and it's in the neck. And the doctors, kind of remove that plaque in a procedure called a carotid endarterectomy. So they took the people in that surgical data, and 2/3 of the people, they found plastic in the plaque. They found actual visible plastic under a microscope in the plaque. Surprisingly, 1/3 of the population that they studied didn't have any plastic. So 2/3 had plastic, 1/3 did not have plastic. The 2/3 people that had the group with plastic in it, they had triple the risk of a heart attack, stroke, and dying over a subsequent 3 years. Triple the risk. That means that plastic is a bigger risk factor for heart attack, stroke, and dying than high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and smoking combined. Worry about plastic levels. Don't worry about your cholesterol levels.
Yeah, one of my friends has a severe autoimmune disease, and they it's my friend's husband, and they have him on steroids, prednisone, methotrexate. I mean, just so many different things. And, his joints hurt so badly that he's like, if I don't take these things, then I can't function. So and even though, so what would you say to someone like that? That they would say, I have an autoimmune disease, and if I don't take these items, I'm barely able to walk.
Here's what I would say. Watch the movie Castaway with the actor Tom Hanks. And this is the movie, of course, where he winds up on the remote island by himself and with the volleyball Wolfson. So here's what happens there. On the island, He goes to sleep with the sun down, awakes with the sunrise. He spends the day in and out of the sun. He eats coconuts, fish, and avocados. He's very physically active. There's no toxins or pollutants on the island. The only thing he suffers from is loneliness, and loneliness is a major, major, major problem. I would tell that person, go find your island. And on the island, you stop all drugs and you heal. So one of the things we're interested in, Chantel, when you and I talked about this on, offline, is, developing this property down in Costa Rica, where we take people like that and we put them into a healthy environment and they recover. It's not genetic. It's not bad luck. This person has man-made chemical poison toxicity, living in an unhealthy world, and needs to get out of it or he's going to die.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to kind of hear if you'll share like the day in the life or the week in the life of Dr. Jack Wolfson, where you say, here's some things that my family does that are kind of non-negotiables for us. Like we do this, 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 these are kind of our top 10 things that we do to make sure that our family stays healthy and lives healthy.
That's a great, great question. I'll tell you about my day, and my day really starts off the night before. So I go to sleep by 9 p.m., maybe a little bit later, 9:30 in the summertime, certainly earlier in the wintertime. I've been known to go to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the wintertime. So does my wife, and so do our 4 children. That's the way that we roll. Life, the world is against us and all these things, and everything that you and I talk about, the world is against us, society's against us, but this is how we do it. So I go to bed early and I wake up early. So I typically wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning. I'll wake up, I'll make myself a couple cups of coffee. I'll check the internet, do whatever. But as the sun comes up, that's when I go outside. I let the animals out. And then my son wakes up and we milk the goats together. We're outside, we're standing barefoot, we're watching the sunrise. And then as it gets warmer, definitely spending the day in and out of the sun as much as possible, just trying to take walks, bike rides, anything to get, the more time you spend outside, the longer you're going to live. For breakfast, I'll typically have eggs, maybe eggs and avocado, eggs and salmon. So sometimes I'll do like a nut seed mixture for breakfast. So, organic coconut flakes, raw cacao, some, nuts and seeds, in there with typically goat milk that we milk at home. Sometimes you can make your own nut milk. You can do raw dairy from a cattle, as well. And then, lunch and dinner are typically meals like, free-range grass-fed meats, a lot of organ in there, seafood in there. I do take supplements, and they're mostly organ-based supplements. Big fan of Shilajit water, so we mix in a little bit of this Himalayan tar-like material, which is old decayed plant matter. It's loaded with minerals. Shilajit, it's called Shilajit. We sell a product called Pure Black on our website. Comes in glass, so it's a cool product. I also take binders, stuff like that, just in case all the different chemicals and poisons we're exposed to. Always drink out of glass. I do, again, we mountain bike, we hike, we horseback ride, so we're active in that sense, active on our ranch, getting ready to, plant our garden. So hopefully those are some good ideas as far as, what we do. But again, like the more time you spend outside doing what you love, the better off you're going to be. That's definitely our strategy. Try and limit technology. Yes, I know within reason, but just, not talking with your cell phone attached to your head and not sitting on top of the Wi-Fi router. And we turn off the Wi-Fi every night. So, it's on a timer, and the timer, 8:30, at night or even earlier, sometimes the timer, goes off, the internet goes down, and that's the time when we should be going night-night.
I love it. I go to sleep at 8:30 too, and I get up around 6. I need a little bit more sleep, so, but I love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Yeah, so our company is called Natural Heart Doctor. So I'd love anybody to join us over there. Just check out the website. Get lots of information on there. It's myself and other cardiologists, naturopathic doctors, health coaches, chiropractors, really a good team. from all around the country. I still do virtual consultations, with people, virtual second opinions, and so does the rest of my team. So if you're out there and you're interested, that's my doggy barking in the background, ready to go outside for a walk. So that's where you could find me. If you want my book, it's the URL for that is freeheartbook.com. So people could go there for that. But Chantel, I appreciate speaking with you as always. People who get it, it's nice to connect with friends again.
Yes, it is. I love it. It's fun connecting with people who are like-minded. Well, you guys stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up in just a few. Bye-bye for now.